All right. So I'm coming to you today with a super important angle for us to understand this coronavirus and the situation that we find ourselves in, which is how are you choosing to make meaning out of this experience? What is the story that you're telling yourself? In yoga psychology, when we look at the chakra system, this is all the third eye perspective. And when we cultivate what's called the third eye perspective, or I like to call it the eagle's eye perspective, we're looking from that soul level. Now, the challenge is that no matter what we experience in our lives, the tendency is to filter our experiences through our past, through our memories. So our memories in yoga psychology are held in what's called the lake bed of our consciousness, the chitta of our consciousness. And so every time we have an experience, our mind, our subconscious mind goes in and tries to catalog that experience based on a past experience. So let's say we're being triggered by fear, or we're being triggered by financial instability right now, or a health crisis or a threat to our health. Our mind will go in and interpret this experience based on a previous experience. And so our old traumas, our old memories are coming up. And so not only in our emotional body, it's really important to understand that not only are we experiencing the present circumstance and the present moment, but anytime we experience an emotion, we're also experiencing the compounded emotion. In other words, every other time we felt fear, or every other time we felt a threat to our health or wellness, or every other time we felt financial instability. And it's bringing up those subconscious or unconscious, or maybe not unconscious memories, maybe they're conscious. So those layers are compounded. So this is where, as yogis, as spiritual seekers, it's crucial that we see this moment, and any moment in our lives when we are facing a threshold of initiation, that we see this moment as an opportunity to correct the lens, to filter it differently. So my tool for you today is a very simple, but not necessarily easy tool of noticing the words that you're using, of noticing how you're talking about coronavirus, how you're talking about financial instability or the possibility of a recession. And how can you reframe, and how can you choose to see things from a different angle or a more empowered lens? So here's an example. And I want to give some big credit to my friend Danielle Laporte, who I just watched one of her Instagram lives, and she was talking about the words using. And can we talk of it instead of a lockdown, or instead of a quarantine, that we're choosing to be a wellness warrior. We're choosing to look out for our friends and neighbors, and ourselves, of course, and our loved ones, by staying isolated, by staying, and also even the difference which we started to hear now between social distancing and physical distancing. And now there's kind of a pivot to physical distancing because we still want to be socially engaged. So what are some other pivots that you could make in the words and the way that you're choosing to frame this experience? And the last piece that I want to give you is in Chinese, the word for crisis is the same word as opportunity. They're two sides of the same coin. So how can we see this experience as an opportunity? How can we focus on, and I am not talking about spiritual bypassing or sugarcoating this, because this is an intense moment. This is a challenging moment for all of us. This is a call to wake up, to look more closely at the details of our lives, both locally, personally, and on a global macro scale. But how can you see this, the yin yang wisdom of the Taoism, of the crisis as the opportunity? If you're spending so much more time at home, what else? What are the gifts that that's bringing you? more quality time with loved ones, or maybe seeing into patterns in family life or relationships that need some attention. Or maybe you have more space and time in your work life and you're able to finally have some breathing room to ask different questions and ask, is this really the kind of work that I want to be in? Or is there any way that I can pivot? Are there any other activities that I want to add in to my work? Or what do I want to let go of? What have I been forced to let go of in my lifestyle or my career that doesn't really fit anyway and feels good to not have to do, right? So, how can you reframe? How can you choose very wisely and refine the words that you're using? So this is the connection between the third eye center and the sixth chakra and the fifth chakra, which is our throat chakra. So the way that consciousness comes in through the crown of the head, the first thing it does is it forms an image in our mind's eye. We start to form a story, our interpretation of that. The next way that that consciousness manifests is when we speak it and name it out into the world. And this is where it actually comes into the manifest field through sound, through the element of sound. I'm not going to get into all the details of that for this short teaching, but the point is that the way that we name things and the way that we tell our stories, the details that we use, the description that we decide, and then how we share that with another person begins to directly affect our consciousness, because then we have it reflected back. Oh no, we're in this crisis. I'm getting so, all you have to do is watch the contagion of the news. And so there's two pieces of this tool that I'm offering you. Number one, be very mindful of what you're choosing to perceive. And again, I'm not talking about spiritual bypassing, but I am talking about being discerning. Perhaps limit your news input to 15 minutes a day, right? Or get it on the radio, or choose wise sources, valid, neutral sources of news information. John Hopkins, I'm on their daily email list. That's a great resource. I'll put the link below. You can get their daily updates, the World Health Organization, some neutral news sources. So number one, be discerning of the frame that you're lensing this through. Number two, be very mindful of the words that you're choosing to use to describe this event. How can you frame it as the opportunities that they are? Opportunities to connect as a people, opportunities to see more clearly, opportunities to wake up. We are forced into waking up right now on so many levels. So be really mindful of your words, choose wisely, right? So this is, you're being a wellness warrior. You are choosing to refrain from intentional, engagement with other people, and simplify and minimize to help mitigate the challenges of this. And then I want to also address that financial piece. How can you seek the opportunities amidst this crisis? So seeing those two sides of the same coin. All right, so notice your observations, notice the lens, and notice the words that you're choosing. Our words literally create our reality. The way that we name things, the way that we describe them, it weaves our reality. So be that spirit weaver, be that light worker. Please let me know below. Give me some tips. What are your frames? What are the words that you're using? What are some empowering, uplifting, insightful, wise words that you're using? All right. Thank you guys so much.